It is 1:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news today, the deadline for teams to place the franchise tag on impending free agents, and the Vikings are not expected to place the tag on quarterback Sam Darnold. Although the two sides are expected to continue conversations on a potential contract extension for Darnold as free agency approaches. The New York Jets are releasing three-time All-Pro wide receiver Devontae Adams. The 32-year-old wide receiver was traded from the Raiders to the Jets mid-season last season and finished 2024 with 85 catches for 163 yards and 8 touchdowns. This move saves $29.9 million in salary cap space for the Jets. The Rams are in process of trading guard Jonah Jackson to the Chicago Bears in exchange for a 6th-round pick in this year's draft. Jackson spent 2024 with the Rams after spending the first 4 seasons of his career with the Detroit Lions, where he was drafted in the 3rd round. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. Lots of NFL news dropping as the tag deadline nears. 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right after this show is when the deadline passes for the franchise tag. And a lot to get to. F&M Bank Chat, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. If you want to get in on the discussion wherever you get your Zone TV. And I got a couple different angles to go, Blaine. I'm going to let you do dealer's choice. Okay, so do you want to talk?
It's going to have choices.
Yeah,
except I like ESPN on the TV.
Yeah, that we definitely
every day.
We always have to. I know, like Buck likes to watch his soap operas on mute. So how do you even know what's going on?
I know.
I don't even get it. Of course, he's. Did you hear the story about him going to the stadium build yesterday?
Oh, yeah, we all were invited. I don't know about his story, though.
They told him to wear closed-toed shoes, and he decided to wear ostrich cowboy boots. Just ostrich boots?
Oh.
But, where do you even get ostrich boots?
Oh, well, at the boot store. You're have issues with his style of shoes?
Apparently they caused his feet some problems because they were were not appropriate attire to wear on a walking tour.
Oh. Well, I was about to say they're protective, and they do talk about all the safety issues you had to go through if you wanted to do the tour. So he probably thought, hey, this is probably
I don't know. I've just never heard of ostrich boots.
Because they say you could step on some stuff. You couldn't wear sandals and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
I never heard of ostrich boots, though. That's where my bigger hang up.
Yeah. Boots, but I would not have chose that too. Yeah. I would have just chose tennis shoes. I don't know, Jackson. What would you have worn on the tour of the stadium at this point in time?
Honestly, I pretty much wear tennis shoes universally. So I definitely would have worn the same tennis shoes I wear every day.
I guess I would have gone blue jeans and hiking boots or something like that yesterday. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's such a beautiful day. I'd hate to have to be in blue jeans. As soon as it hits 45 degrees, I'm in shorts.
Yeah. Hey, you still got that college vibe to you. As soon as it gets sunny and the temperature just turns the other way, boom.
I'm in.
I remember when I used to do that.
Yeah, I dress for comfort.
Now I'm frigid, and then Jackson's just laughing at me. I'm taking off layers every time.
I dress like I'm where I want to be, a beach or on a boat.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Is that your motto for just life in general?
Yeah, always dress where you want to be. Right now, we're just chilling. We're having a good day.
Oh man, okay. What did you order? Some chips and nachos and stuff? We just chilling.
No, unfortunately, maybe one day.
Hey, I was watching Big Perk. I wanted to have fun hanging out with Zach, man.
What about Kyrie Irving out for the season? Dallas Maverick fans, if there's any left, are not able to catch a break right now.
They showed in the 3rd quarter all these fans leaving when Kyrie got hurt because they you traded Luka AD has been injured already. He's out probably most of the season, if not the rest of the season. So, yeah, it's not good times there for the Dallas Mavericks fans there, man.
No, not at all.
They may run that GM out of town. And when I say out of town, I mean he may not be employed.
I have a motto: it could always be worse. I don't know if it could be worse than the month that Nico Harrison, the GM of the Mavericks, has had.
Yeah. It's funny, I had never even heard of his name, let alone him. And now that he traded Luka, I think now everybody knows his name.
Hey, that's a way to make a name for yourself, bud.
Wow, that was a tough call there. But wow, man, that's one.
And Anthony Davis is hurt too.
Yeah, he's out with some form of growing abdominal.
Well, that's just per the normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you get. So, do you want to talk about Aaron Rodgers or do you want to talk about Shadur Sanders?
Oh my! Well, just because I want to just keep poking you, Aaron Rodgers.
I knew it
because I know that was your favorite. Because you really want the Titans to sign him. No, just kidding. You do not. But I would love to hear what's going on with him as far as the Giants. It seems like the Giants are in this huge conversation and probably in I guess conflict or I guess battle with the Titans, even though they're the third pick, whether they trade up. Or if they sign a veteran quarterback, that's what you're hearing. And then, maybe even still draft one with their third pick or first pick if they trade with the Titans. So it's really interesting that after Aaron Rodgers there with the Jets, that the Giants are in a desperate mode. I like the coach, but the GM, his job is on the line for sure. So that means the head coach's job is on the line. Dayball. So, boy, they're in a tough spot here. I wouldn't want to be touching Aaron Rodgers, but they are a team probably better suited. When I say that is they have some pieces in place a little bit more than the Titans, even though they're third pick. But they seem like just with the right quarterback, they could really turn some things around pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, and then of course Devontae Adams got released, and that goes into it. So Matthew Berry of NBC Sports came out and put out his annual list of here are the top 25 rumors that I think hold the most weight that I got from the combine. So 25 of them.
Yeah, juicy ones.
Juicy ones. Yeah. Here's what he says. I quote, I've been told that Aaron Rodgers is now looking at 3 options ranked here in order of likeliness as it was told to me. First, go to the New York Giants. Second, go to the Tennessee Titans. Third, stay in shape and wait for an injury opening on a winning team with playoff chances. I am scared of the inevitable.
the Tennessee Titans?
That the Tennessee Titans are going to get screwed in this quarterback market, free agent quarterback market, and Aaron Rodgers is also going to get screwed in this quarterback market, and an arranged marriage is about to happen. And as Eddie in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube has coined, he says Aaron Rodgers plus Will Levis equals #team toxic.
Oh, my. Man, that
dysfunctional double check.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. I like that dysfunctional double check.
Ooh, man. Wow. I feel, watch this, you're gonna think I'm crazy. I feel bad for head coach Kelly. If that happens,
I mean, it's really almost any situation. Like I said, it's really hard not to feel bad for Brian Kelly because the odds are really stacked against him. You get a rookie quarterback in your second year, more often than not, you're fired the next year. You get possibly Sam Darnold, spend all this money, and you all don't win more games. Guess what? You're fired next year. You get Aaron Rodgers, and you're having to battle that drama all year long, you're likely going to get fired. Like, the odds of him staying are so low. So I feel entirely bad about him. But and again, Aaron Rodgers, the general consensus is that guys like Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, though that tier of free agent quarterback will not preclude a team from drafting a quarterback. So if they were to get Aaron Rodgers, they could still draft Cam Ward. But again, if you're going to draft Cam Ward and you got Will Levis, where is the veteran mentorship? Where's the veteran leadership coming in? Because Aaron Rodgers has as I know there are rumors out there about Jordan Love. Jordan Love, owes a lot to Aaron Rodgers and all this stuff. But what about the other young players? I know that Aaron Rodgers did not want to show up to camp and not do stuff at camp in years past, and it affected, and he blamed all the wide receivers for not being on the same page. That year they got Christian
OTAs, not training camp, but
OTAs. But he blamed Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, these young pass catchers for not being on the same page with him when he missed the majority of the summer stuff where he could get on page with them. Yeah. So, how does that affect the entire team? Again, this locker room in its current state is not strong enough to take on a personality like Aaron Rodgers, and I could not imagine being Brian Callahan and wanting Aaron Rodgers. So then that kind of tells me right there, dang, is this the staff or the front office staff wanting Aaron Rodgers? And they're just saying, deal with it. You got to make it work because this is what we're doing. And listen, a lot of front offices do that. But, man, that doesn't seem like to build a really good, foundation for what should be success down the line in this year.
Yeah, that there is a recipe for disaster. Let's give you this scenario with Aaron Rodgers and let's say a rookie, quarterback on the roster. First and foremost, what if you're not winning? Let's say you start off slow and you're, 2-6, 2-4, and it doesn't look good. Aaron Rodgers is going to get benched and they're going to play that rookie quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, hence then, will ask to be released. So if I was the Titans, I'd hold out on the Aaron Rodgers. I get it. He's a solid quarterback. But, man, I don't know him personally, so I wish I could have a sit down and a conversation because that's what they're probably having, that he's going to, let's say, change his mode of operation. Let's say that. Because now you're not the big ticket in town. You're not the best quarterback in the National Football League. You're middle of the road starting quarterback.
If your choices are New York Giants, Tennessee Titans, and sitting out, that tells you what your market is.
But guess what? He needs to say it.
Right.
He needs to admit that's where it. That doesn't mean we can't see glimpses of greatness. But I also need him to be a mentor. Do you embrace mentorship? I need to know. I need you to help, whether it's Will Levis or whoever else moving forward. Do you know you're just a piece to help us get there? And the piece may end one time, maybe even during the season.
And it's about, listen.
So I just don't know if he will embrace that. I just don't think he will.
And you got to be that guy for the entire locker room, especially if you're the quarterback, because you're the tone setter.
Yeah.
You're trying to establish, if you're truly trying to establish a winning culture, you get winners. And listen, Aaron Rodgers is a winner. He has a high, I guess you would say, threshold or requirement or whatever. He wants to win. He's not a guy that wants to come in and lose. He's going to get frustrated. He's going to hold everybody to a high standard.
That shows you where he's at. Jets and Giants. Tight. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So he has a high standard of where he wants to win, but I don't think that he can impart that to everybody else. I think I'm going to hold everybody to a high standard, but I'm not going to help you get there. You get what I'm saying? That's what I feel like he is.
Yeah, and I don't think I would have to tell him we're not bringing in people that you want us to bring in. You can't be pouting. That's what he does because you didn't get your way. That's really what he did in Green Bay.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you guys decided to rebuild. Y'all drafted a quarterback at high in the first round, and then I'm out here with all these young guys. So you're telling me you're not even listening to anything that I'm asking for. You're doing the opposite. You're preparing for the future. That's what his thought process was. Instead of saying, okay, let me train up these young guys, mentor them, and guess what? Maybe we can get there within half of a season or another season, which I'll be here, and then we'll be ready to ride. He went the total opposite of that. He tells you everything about who he is. So then the media stuff he's going to be doing with McAfee and all, it won't be good.
It will not be good. Well, there's more quarterback dominoes.
Unless he's going to change.
Well,
and we all know,
he's not.
He hasn't shown that at all. But
he's 42. I'm even as amenable as a guy as I am. I'm probably at this point not going to change at 39.
He's a little wiser. He may.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know.
When we come back, we'll talk about what people are hearing about Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and Sam Darnold and how it relates to the Titans. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
As an athlete myself, I know how frustrating nagging pain or injuries can be to your performance. So if you have a nagging pain or injury that's been keeping you from fully enjoying your favorite sports or activities, then now is the time to finally take care of it. And spring is in the air, so it's an awesome time to do this. And Edge Peptide and Hormone Therapy have multiple regenerative treatment options for treating, healing, and recovering from your injuries or pain. And Edge has everything from PRP treatments to stem cell therapy. And Edge focuses on your body's natural ability to heal, and the ultimate goal is always avoid surgery if possible. All you got to do is call Edge for a comprehensive consultant to create the perfect treatment plan for you at some of the most aggressive pricing you'll find in the area. So spend this month restoring so that you can thrive the rest of the year. And all you have to do is just go online and check them out at edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can give them a call today at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
That song started off a little slow, but it kind of got me into the groove after that. What was this, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter? Is that right?
It is. You can read, Zach.
You
I can read.
Yeah. Yep, Sabrina Carpenter, yeah.
At first, because, they made fun of me for my music taste, Blaine, because I've been trying to get new music on the show and stuff. Like, I threw in some wrestling themes and some local bands, supporting some local artists, and they were making fun of me when I walked in today.
Oh, you say they. Who is they?
Jackson and Joseph.
That's why I never request certain songs or any song.
I just told them, hey, listen. I said, listen. Who cares? Just give me. I didn't ask for your opinion. I just asked for you to play it.
Oh, you know what? I see great leadership qualities out of
There you go. I took their advice under advisement and still just did whatever I wanted to.
He pointed us to the suggestion box, which
Yeah.
was the garbage can.
That is true. That is true. All right. So continuing on with Matthew Berry, he has an article out talking about the top 25 rumors he's heard from the combine, the juicy stuff. Obviously, we've heard this one many times. It's to the point where it's bound to happen, I guess, or maybe I'm to the point where I'm convinced, like, I've heard this so much, maybe it doesn't happen. And that is Justin Fields remains quarterback of the Steelers. No. Like, we have heard that over and over and over, all for like a month. And I'm like, now I'm kind of concerned, is this really going to happen? Or maybe they surprise everybody and want everybody to think that they're going Justin Fields and they end up going Sam Darnold.
No,
I'm just saying. So maybe they draft a quarterback. I
was
don't
about
know.
to go in a different direction and say, time has gotten you to change your mind. No, this call is FOMO and anxiety here because Sam Darnold has not got franchise tag and will be available. And you really want him to sign with the Titans, and you're afraid that somebody's going to snafu you.
Because I had been saying, Steelers need to be all. If I were the Steelers, I'd be all in on him. I'd be all in on Aaron Rodgers if I were the Steelers and he brought me Devontae Adams with him.
Right, me too.
But that is what he's hearing, Justin Fields, the Steelers. Here's the thing. There's been a lot of people that have said Russell Wilson to Pete Carroll doesn't really make sense because of how their relationship went south. We've heard Pete Carroll at the podium this week when asked about it. He says, you guys would be surprised how often we all talk. Right. And then in this particular article, Matthew Berry says, I heard there have been conversations about Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. And the thought process is some version of, hey, we both got fired in Seattle. We were better together than apart. Let's figure out a way past our differences and run it back. Or some such kind of phrasing. It makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. And I do think it makes a lot of sense, but I also think Sam Darnold makes a lot of sense for everybody involved there as well. So Sam Darnold's kind of the hot ticket item. But, I think that if Justin Fields does go to the Steelers, Russell Wilson goes to the Raiders, that's really good for the Tennessee Titans, who are likely to be in the Sam Darnold market.
Yeah, I think right now the Titans are sitting in a good spot as far as Sam Darnold. I think they got just as good a chance as anybody else to sign Sam Darnold. So, and he would be number one for the right price. I don't want to get too, out of control here with the pricing. My guideline is still, hopefully under 40, somewhere thereabout. So, yeah, I don't have any anxiety. I think it's going to work out. I'm worried about the Raiders.
See, that's the thing. So that's why I'm hoping that Russell Wilson goes to the Raiders. In this scenario, let's say Fields goes to the Steelers, Wilson goes to the Raiders. That's good for the Titans. Now, obviously, if the Raiders, don't sign a quarterback fairly early in the free agency process or the legal tampering period, the longer it goes on, the more concerned you should be if you're a Titans fan that is at least open to the idea of Sam Darnold being here. And so that's where I'm a little confused. What's interesting, though, well, let's break this up. Sam Darnold likely not to get tagged. If you're a fan of this show, it should be no surprise to you that I am not surprised that he did not get tagged. I thought it was such a long shot since the rumor started up about the tag in the middle of the season, all this stuff. And I understand what he put on the field, but the Vikings have been pretty clear when they signed him, that they signed him with the intent of trying to get him paid in free agency this year. I just never got the sense that they were actually going to tag him, risk $40 million being on the books, and nobody trading for him. And what's even more interesting, Blaine, though, is that, okay, listen to what Matthew Berry said. I heard there have even been conversations and a thought process. Oh, sorry. Wrong thing I'm reading. Quote, they have not made a contract offer to Darnold. Like, not even a lowball one. Nothing. The Titans have some interest, but not enough to trade for him at the moment, especially since they may just draft Cam Ward or potentially get Aaron Rodgers. So the Tennessee Titans have put out all these kinds of, I guess, smoke and make sure that the Vikings know they're not interested in trading. And I think that goes for every team. I don't think any team's interested in a tag and trade situation. And I think that is why you see Sam Darnold heading to free agency, because I think the plan has been all along some version of J.J. McCarthy and Daniel Jones, whether that's J.J. McCarthy's fully healthy, ready to go, or Daniel Jones buys him time. I just never got the sense that Sam Darnold was going to be back with the Vikings.
Yeah. I said I never thought he was going to be tagged. I just didn't make any sense to pay a guy that kind of money for 1 year of performance based off of the offense that they run and who they drafted the year before. So, hey, I don't know if I don't think any team goes in and say we're trying to get him paid, but he was going to be their quarterback and they were going to try to make it as far as they could with him. So
that was the direct quote. I don't remember which of those guys said.
Interesting, because I always love to hear that question in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because remember, if J.J. McCarthy didn't get hurt, wasn't he doing number 1 reps?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what they're saying. Sam Darnold was always going to be the guy.
That, right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, I'm talking about.
No. Sam Darnold was going to be the starter. They'd already established that Sam Darnold was the starter for that year.
Right. But what I'm saying is I didn't say they didn't say that.
Yeah.
I'm saying about getting paid.
Yeah.
Name one time in the NFL that somebody said, yeah, we signed him so we could help him get paid. That's basically what you just said.
Yeah, but that's exactly what they said,
I know.
though.
They're saying that now. They didn't say it in the beginning.
I am telling you, Blaine, the quote is from the summer.
Oh, that is.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at is.
Or maybe not the summer, maybe in the free agency.
You've never heard someone ever say that.
Yeah, that's why it was so crazy. But they did say it. It wasn't now. They said it. They said it when they signed him.
Right, but even that, I can't believe that they said something like that, because that's really not what most people say. So they looked at it from that perspective, that lens from the beginning. They were never going to franchise tag him.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I never bought into it.
Yeah, but to say that you were going to help him get paid, I mean, you don't know before the season.
Well, that's true. They have a lot of faith in themselves, I guess. But
because the history tells you that wasn't going to happen, at least to this level.
Yeah.
So
maybe they're like me and they thought they had a Baker Mayfield situation on the hands. Remember the Rams?
I wanted Sam Darnold for 1 year.
I know.
But to say that out loud is
weird.
Really,
it's very odd. And that's why it's sent up, to me is like, okay, no matter what happened during the season, I always came back to that quote from when they said that. And I was like, I just think that right now they're reaping the benefits of making the right decision in free agency on the cheap. And I don't think they're going to sacrifice 1 or 2 more years, right? 1 or 2 more years of a rookie contract trying to make a Sam Darnold, one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, which again, that alone to me was never going to happen, because I think also people kind of have I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but people look at the quarterbacks like Herbert, Goff, Tua, Love, and Dak, who all got paid, anywhere from $52.5 to $60 million per year, and try to lump Sam Darnold in that situation. But all those guys, at the time they signed the contract, were considered franchise guys. They weren't considered bridge guys, and Sam Darnold's a bridge guy. So that's why I always thought this $50 million plus number was way out of whack and not in line with what really was happening in the NFL market. And I still think $40 million is a little bit different, because to me, I look at the Mayfield contract, Blaine, he's getting paid $33.3 million per year. Why would someone want to pay him, $6.7 million more per year, Sam Darnold? He's coming off a 1 year contract, just like Mayfield was.
Well, I use 40 and under for me personally is because of I thought there was going to be competition.
Yeah, and now it doesn't seem like there is.
Right, exactly. So that number is going to come back to somewhere around 35, I would assume, based off of Baker Mayfield's contract. So we'll never know. I'm hoping the Titans, if they can get it from 35 for multiple years now, I'm all on board for that. I just don't know if we're going to see what we saw with the Vikings.
So, like, here's the thing, and you may not, but you're not paying really for Vikings Sam Darnold in that sense, because Vikings Sam Darnold is a $50 million quarterback.
Right.
What you're paying for is realistic Sam Darnold, like you got with realistic Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield really is kind of outperforming his contract, and so you hope that Sam Darnold does the same, but he's coming into a totally new situation. So really, you know what? Right now, Mayfield at $33.3 million per year is the 18th highest paid quarterback based off per year numbers. Okay. So if he got paid $35 million per year, which is a bump from Mayfield, right? He would still be like 18th or 17th highest paid in terms of APY per year. He's about that kind of quarterback, right? I mean, the problem is that the quarterback market has gotten so out of whack, it makes these middle tier quarterbacks even look differently. But really, based on the market, that's about right for Sam Darnold.
So if they did get an opportunity to sign Sam Darnold and that happens, and they trade back, what do they do with the Giants? What do they do with that third pick? Are they out of the quarterback market?
Me. Oh, yeah, I think so.
At least that high.
Yeah, I think that, you would maybe draft one later with one of the extra picks you pick up in a trade back or whatever. Maybe not second or third, but if you pick up a second or third, that makes your fourth and fifths a little bit more, provides you a little bit more flexibility in the fourth or fifth round because you got higher picks now, more higher picks. I look at it like this. I'm all about Travis Hunter at that point.
Ooh, Travis Hunter at 3.
Wide receiver. Put him at wide receiver. Don't overthink it.
But they think of him as a DB, so more so.
I wonder if that's just a little bit of smoke.
But if they think that way, would they take a DB at 3?
No, but they shouldn't think that way. If anybody in the state in that front office is listening, Travis Hunter is a wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. Dan Orlovsky thinks that's where you should play him. That's where Travis Hunter wants to play. If you're going to force him to choose a side, he wants to play wide receiver. And really, shouldn't you put that kind of player, that kind of talent where he wants to be? Because that's where he's going to provide you that most dedication and motivation. And I want him playing wide receiver. I want the ball in his hand as much as possible.
Yeah, that's why I've been leaning all along from the beginning, is that he's more wide receiver. Not to say that he can't be a real good defensive back. And he may have to put in even more work in the league as a receiver. But, man, when you see some of the things that he does and you watch him individually with some of the jump cuts and his athleticism, his vertical speed, I mean, you just go, man, I'd be remiss if I didn't get him the ball.
And it's a terrible wide receiver class.
Yeah,
the wide receivers.
Well, it's just not as talented as last year. Let's say that. I mean, there's no big time guy that's like, oh my gosh, we got to have him. He's going to definitely be really good. Maybe it's because Ohio State's all their guys are young.
Yeah. I mean, I just look at it and I go, how do you not want Travis Hunter as a wide receiver? I'm almost like that for 90% of the teams.
All right. I'm going to say this real quick, though. As much as I agree with you, I don't think that's what the Titans are thinking if this domino happens. They sign Darnold. I think they're going to go pass
Joe
rusher.
Carter probably, if he's there.
The only reason why I say that is because they've already put Harold Landry out there on the market trade. So that means he's probably going to get cut. So then now you have a huge hole there, and you can just plug and play immediately with a more talented and cheaper player.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know with third pick, but So I would say I think that's what if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, I could be wrong, but that's what I think they're going to do if they get Darnold. And that would be fantastic either way. And then, they picked up some picks. They may even, have another pick in the first round and end up getting some form of maybe later in the road with your guy Burden or someone of that ilk at receiver that can be a playmaker.
Yeah, I am just for this particular team, and listen, the Patriots are apparently in this same thing. The Patriots have called to the Philadelphia Eagles about trading for A.J. Brown, which kind of tells you that Mike Vrabel is wanting to reunite with someone they never should have left, right? But like, even if you were the Patriots, and let's say this wide receiver market's pretty thin, you can't find a number one wide receiver in a trade market, which is what they're kind of the rumors are they wanting to do. I would still play Travis Hunter as my wide receiver one at the Patriots, even though that maybe Mike Vrabel may play him at defensive back. But I'm looking at Travis Hunter in that particular situation. I'm like, yeah, Drake made Travis Hunter. Sign me up. Like, it's really hard for me not to side on with offense for Travis Hunter. And listen, I love Abdul Carter. I like Cam Ward. I like Shadur Sanders. But like, when you're talking about at the 3rd overall pick and you already got Sam Darnold, I think Travis Hunter plus Sam Darnold plus Calvin Ridley provides you more upside heading into this 2025 season than Abdul Carter does at this point. Now, if Travis Hunter's gone, whatever, and if it is Abdul Carter, I'm not going to bat an eye at it. But like, to me, my preferred preference would be if you are going to sign Sam Darnold, Travis Hunter, Calvin Ridley. Let's air it out and let's
watch this.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this quick question. And this is probably what they're sitting there debating about us having this discussion. And here's how maybe they may be looking at it. How frequently would you be able to get a big time pass rusher compared to a wide receiver?
Ooh.
And see, that's where I think they start drawing lines and say, well, we probably can get another receiver, even if it's not this year, next year, even if you want to say this is not a blue chip.
Both are really hard to get in that first round, but I would probably side the edge rusher talent of Abdul Carter is probably harder to find than the wide receiver talent of Travis Hunter, if that makes sense.
Because then it goes back to that chronological order of how you build a team.
Right.
How do you build your team? We always know the quarterback is number one, but you got to have your tackle, you got to have your pass rusher, and now there's a battle for that 4th spot is receiver or cornerback. What do you do when you're building your roster? What are the most important positions?
That's quarterback and edge. I mean, it's the quarterback and affecting the quarterback, right? I mean, that's really your two most. Then it goes tackle. And then I would say probably wide receiver, then cornerback. I mean, that's really how I would probably rank them.
Yeah. So that's why I think they may lean in. It's hard to
and I'm
get
fine with them leaning in.
I got you.
Yeah, but
like, I could be wrong and you could be totally right.
But just think about it.
I love it. That is a great
Sam
scenario.
Darnold, Travis Hunter, Calvin Ridley. You can move Calvin Ridley and Travis Hunter all over the formation. It'd be so much different than what the Tennessee Titans have.
And they trade back in and get another, get Warren a tight end.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe. We'll see what they get in the trade back. When we come back, we'll talk about trade scenario that was proposed today by Dane Brugler, but also one of a rumor that we're hearing about the New York Giants and Tennessee Titans. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition. Personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance, provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. And all you have to do is just go check them out online at TOA.com. Yes, that's TOA.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all four seasons garage doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. And some interesting rumors have popped up over the last 24 hours about the New York Giants and the Tennessee Titans. This is very grain of salt, what I'm about to say.
Oh,
okay.
You forewarned me.
Because I've already lost a tweet where the guy said it. So very grain of salt. But there's been rumors floating around that first the Giants came to the table with an offer of first and a third this year and a third next year. Obviously not enough. The Titans came back supposedly with an offer of a first this year, first next year, Kayvon Thibodeau, and some potentially more draft picks for Harold Landry in the number 1 overall pick, because obviously Shane Bowen loves Harold Landry. And all this to say, where would you be at on including Harold Landry if it meant more picks? But do you really want Kayvon Thibodeau, who's on a rookie contract? Last year was rookie contract. You don't have a 5th-year option on him. But where are you at on Kayvon Thibodeau, who doesn't – he's very involved in extracurricular activities. He's very online, has a podcast, hasn't had a lot of production. In fact, I would say that Harold Landry is more productive than Kayvon Thibodeau, and that should tell you how much I view that. But he's young, and maybe the New York Giants just weren't the right fit. But where would you be at in getting a player back in the trade of like Kayvon Thibodeau to replace an edge to replace an edge?
Well, you're getting a younger player, so I would be on board with that. Even though I'm not getting the production yet that I see, I should be seeing. I think, and you're getting for the price. You got to look at it like this. We're probably getting the same form of production at a cheaper price. So I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, I mean that's
younger player. Worst case scenario, you get just a rotational guy or a good solid player. You're just okay, and that's pretty much where Harold Landry was.
My big thing is that you have to get a future first in this trade, no matter what.
Yes.
And a lot of people, I've seen Dane Brugler, he tweeted out, or he put out in his thing that he thinks 2 day 2 picks and the first round pick swap is enough to move up. And to me, I look at that like, I get what Dane Brugler's thinking, but that is, in terms of the NFL, the history of trading the number 1 overall pick, one of the worst returns you'll ever get for a valuable piece of position from a team that is thirsty for a quarterback. I mean, they are desperate for a quarterback. Did you hear how that whole Rams thing went down?
No, you have to tell me.
Okay,
tell us all.
The Giants matched what the Rams wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
which nobody said, but I'm assuming it had to be in the $50 million range.
No. Listen. You're right. They did match what Matt Stafford wanted, but they also matched a draft compensation the Rams wanted. They hired Matt Stafford's brother-in-law to the staff.
Yeah. So they thought they had the deal done.
And they thought they had the deal done, and he backed out and said that he just wanted to stay with the Rams. So they are thirsty for a quarterback because they had that all done, right? And now that's taken from. And even John Mara, the owner there, has said, the number 1 priority this offseason is find a quarterback of the future. So they are desperate to move up to number 1 when you look at all the evidence. So if you do not get a first-round draft, a future first back in whatever trade you work out, you failed unless you are getting a massive haul of second and third round picks in the next 3 or 4 drafts because you have failed as a GM and you are the one that got taken to the cleaner, not them.
Well, yeah, and also they're desperate because their jobs are on the line. GM, head coach. I think they're going all in and go, hey, we got to win now. And so, they want something that's proven. Or if not, we're going to have to move up. So that's where we're at today. Unless, do you think there's a possibility the Giants would be in the Darnold race? I know he was with the Jets, but we're talking about the Giants.
They have the cash room and the cap space, but from everything that's been said, Darnold's name never gets mentioned with the Giants.
But see, to
then
me,
maybe that's interesting.
Yeah, that kind of goes, whoa, well, why aren't they? If they're so desperate, Maybe they are. They're just not talking about it because they're thinking about the Giants fans and they're going to go crazy because they're going to be like, no, we don't want him because he was horrible with the Jets.
Right.
That's where they're going to go.
So maybe that's what the owner's also thinking too, because like, what are the chances you're looking, if you're looking for the future quarterback? It's interesting because they say these tier 2 quarterbacks, your Rodgers, Cousins, those kinds of quarterbacks, don't prevent you from drafting a quarterback in this year's draft. Sam Darnold technically would. Doesn't have to,
right. Well,
but it technically would.
To take one high, that's what Darnold does.
And so if you are looking for the quarterback of the future, if you're the Giants, you got Malik Neighbors. How many years of Malik Neighbors are you going to waste if you don't go ahead and get Cam Ward? You see what I'm saying? Like, to me, I look at it like this. If you are Brian Daboll and GM Joe, you are looking at this as I don't give an F year. Like, this is a year we're leaving it all on the table, and we need to trade up and go get Cam Ward because no matter what you do, you have 2 options. And it's similar to Brian Callahan, right? You spend all the draft capital you can, maybe a slight overpay to go get Cam Ward. Number 1. If he stinks, guess what? You're fired, and guess what? Who cares if you have a first-round pick next year? You're not on the team. You don't care. And you did what the owner wanted, right? The owner approved it. The owner wanted it. So it's his mess to deal with now. But if he hits, you saved your job. Mm-hmm. So, like, to me...
And then you get an extension.
Yeah, then you get an extension. So, like, to me, I look at it and I go, if I'm the Giants, I'm willing to overpay. I'm willing to do the deals like Jason at Over the Cap did yesterday, where you trade your first this year, your second this year, a first next year, and a third next year. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to do that because this is my last-ditch effort. This is my last resort.
They haven't talked about Sam Darnold at all.
No, I mean, from what everything we've heard is that, like, apparently those last 2 games really have weighed heavily on the league. Whether that's fair or not is a totally different story. But apparently that has weighed really heavily, at least in the NFC. And the Giants are in the NFC. So the teams that he struggled with in the playoffs, if the Giants were trying to make a run, maybe they're not far off, maybe they are far off. But if the Giants are going to have to face those NFC teams that he struggled with, particularly, they got to face the Eagles twice a year.
Yeah, did they play the Giants? We don't know that. I'm gonna look that up and see if they played the Giants last year, but because they're not in the same, but they are in the division, but they're in the same conference, so they may not have played. But wow, that'll be interesting. Which a lot of people think the NFC is the best conference when it comes to with the Redskins or Commanders. As well as the Giants and Eagles and Cowboys.
Yeah, the opening game Sam Darnold played against New York Giants won 28-6. He had a 79.2 completion percentage, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Not bad.
Not bad.
And a win.
And a win. I mean, you only had 2 losses on there. That was against the Rams and the Green Bay Packers, Detroit Lions to end the season. So just 2 losses. And then the third in the playoffs. A lot of winning.
It's pretty impressive. I think the Giants are making a great mistake for not being in the running for them. Yeah.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward. Switch the conversation to the draft. We also got Coach Mack coming up the next hour for his weekly Mack Attack. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
We've got the trucks, all the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
It is 2:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news today, the deadline for teams to place the franchise tag on impending free agents, and the Vikings are not expected to place the tag on quarterback Sam Darnold, although the two sides are expected to continue conversations on a potential contract extension for Darnold as free agency approaches. The New York Jets are releasing three-time All-Pro wide receiver Devontae Adams. The 32-year-old was traded from the Raiders to the Jets mid-season in 2024 and finished the season with 85 catches, 1,063 yards, and 8 touchdowns. This move saves New York $29.9 million in salary cap space this season. The Philadelphia Eagles are signing running back Saquon Barkley to a 2-year, $41.2 million extension with $36 million fully guaranteed at signing. This deal makes Barkley the NFL's first $20 million running back and the highest paid running back in the NFL, and also keeps him in Philly through 2028. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four-Season Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. And, of course, we'll be joined by Coach Mack later this hour and talk about all things that he saw at the Combine, talk about some draft prospects and all that kind of stuff. And so yesterday, Blaine, off air, I kind of told you that what I've been hearing from the Combine, that there was some peculiar situation going down with Shadur Sanders in his individual team meetings, his private meetings, his formal meetings. That's the word I was looking for, his formal meetings. There were some peculiar things that happened that arose, and, very vague, and everything is kind of the information I got, but there's just something there. Get home. Todd McShay comes out with his I subscribe to his newsletter. Todd McShay comes out with an article, but then he also releases a video as well. Dane Brugler talked about it today, but I just want to read you, because this kind of echoes what I heard, but I want to read you what Todd McShay wrote and what he heard. He goes, I spoke to two high-ranking individuals who work in personnel departments for two different NFL teams selected in the top 10. Each of whom was present for their team's official meeting with Colorado quarterback Shadur Sanders. Both of them told me they came away unimpressed with Sanders' attitude during the meeting. One of them said Sanders wasn't taking it all that seriously. The other said he didn't have professional approach. The general sense I got in talking to these two individuals is that they left the meeting feeling like Sanders wasn't overly concerned with what they thought of them. That is kind of... It wasn't necessarily that he did anything bad. It's just the vibes were a lot different from the East-West Shrine Bowl. That's what I heard. That's what he heard. This goes on. There's a lot to unpack here, he says. These meetings are sometimes the first time teams get to spend time with prospects face-to-face. In these meetings, teams make it a point to have their key staffers, those who will have a say in the final decision, in the room with the prospect. Teams consider it to be the first official job interview, so to speak. So it's concerning if this was Sanders' first impression with two teams who are in a realistic position to draft him. Each of these individuals, I should add, works for a team that is in need of a quarterback. With that said, however, I can think of many stories I've been told about these meetings. Sometimes the players don't feel as though they'll fall to a certain team. They aren't as engaged. Makes sense. Totally on board. But here's where the story perplexes me, he says. And now I think this is an interesting take on it, but this is a little bit of a conspiracy theory, so warning, it's a little bit of a conspiracy. But here's why the story perplexes me. Deion Sanders has made it abundantly clear that he wants input on where Shadur is taken in the draft. There's a lot of teams that preferred he didn't play for, Deion told Dan Patrick just before the Super Bowl. Deion also told Patrick he's already met with teams about their potential interest in selecting his son. So it's possible Deion is in command of the circumstances and working behind the scenes to secure what he thinks is the optimal destination for Shadur. Dion is immensely knowledgeable about the NFL and the draft process. I trust him to do his due diligence. Possible stories like these will have no bearing on Shadur's draft stock, but why limit your options if you're the Sanders family? Now here, I know that was a lot to unpack. Here, in a more succinct manner, probably, is what Dane Brugler said this morning. Oh, crap. Do you remember what show it was from? Okay. Jackson doesn't remember either. He was on 2 shows this morning. He said the same thing on both shows. So Dane Brugler of The Athletic, he definitely was on Mike and Mike or Golick, the 2 Golick shows. Mike Golick Jr. and Mike Golick Sr. have a show together.
On X, they showed the interview.
Yeah.
Because he has a beard now, Tommy J.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is, this is Dane Brugler now.
Oh.
So this is another guy confirming this story. Right. So this is Dane Brugler on the Golick show.
He has fans around the league, but the context is we like him, but not as a top 5 guy. And that's always been the case. And I think as we leave the combine, more and more people are understanding that this isn't necessarily like a 1-2 type of thing or a battle for quarterback 1. It's Cam Ward at the top. Then you have a gap. And then some teams will have Shadur as quarterback 2. Not all teams. Shadur will not be a top 3 quarterback for some teams. That's just how this quarterback class is. And I think once people kind of accept that, like I think that they'll be able to look at this draft a little more clear just with the way that things are going to play out. But, at the same time, Shadur, so talking to teams that met with him in Indianapolis, I think that it's not that the feedback was very mixed. It's not that he is a good guy or a bad guy or anything like that. He's a not for everyone guy. And if you spend any more than 15 seconds around him, I think you get that. You can understand why the boldness, the brashness, it's not going to be for every coach. And I can hear some Giants fans and Raiders fans listening to this saying, well, who cares? Can he win? I get that. Because at the end of the day, it's all that matters. But just talking to teams, you don't get the sense that they're all that excited about making a pick like that in the top 6. And I'll never say never, because we know when it comes to drafting a quarterback in the top 10, it's basically an ownership decision. And if Mark Davis and Tom Brady really want Shadur, well, guess what? That'll be the pick at 6. But there are a lot more scouts who think Shadur falls out of the top 10 than goes into top 10. But obviously, scouts aren't making the picks, and that's where there's still a little bit of unknown in terms of trying to figure out, okay, if Cam Ward goes 1, could Shadur go 2, 3, 6, 7? Like, it's still up in the air.
So yeah, I mean that's it basically. This happens every year in some form or fashion. Remember the S2 scores for C.J. Stroud and all this kind of stuff. Stuff like this happens. But I did hear before this stuff came out that the vibes were off. The vibes from the Shrine Bowl to the formal meetings were off. Maybe it is orchestrated by Deion Sanders. He's a shrewd businessman. Maybe that is. I think at the end of the day, I think how Dane Brugler put it right, and I think what Josina Anderson also said in retort is this generation of coaches, I guess, or the older generation of coaches aren't probably going to get along with, they're not going to get Shadur Sanders. You get what I'm saying? Like I think we understand Shadur Sanders, but I could see some coaches and position coaches or high-ranking staffers be like, I don't vibe with this guy. I don't get his deal. But I don't think that is a true. At the end of the day, I still think he goes top 10. He has top 10 tape, in my opinion.
Yeah, I still think he'd be quarterback 2. I'm not real big on a conjecture and rumors and all that. And that's what always happens here. And whether it's, I felt like I expected this just because he's Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Son. I really did. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. I wasn't in those meetings, so I can't say if it was true or not. It doesn't sound like a good play. Deion Sanders is actually a really sharp guy, and they're talking about he understands the league and everything else. Him telling his son not to, be all in on some maybe teams that he doesn't want to go to or wouldn't draft him anyway, it doesn't even make sense to me.
Yeah, that's what
it doesn't add up to me. Like that doesn't, you don't do that.
You don't limit your options.
Right, yeah, because you don't know what could happen in this draft. Matter of fact, somebody could trade up and they could get you. So I just, this happens. So I don't know whether it's true or not. I think to your point though about coaches, old school coaches and new generational coaches, which probably means they're younger. Let's just say that. Probably embrace Shadur and the way he goes about his business, where, old schools are, they want you to be buttoned up and really tight and want you to be really kind of conservative type person. That's not who he is. So he's never going to be your cup of tea. Now,
and I think that's why analysts are, and to be honest, I said it last week, this is why I think some analysts are discounting what he put on tape.
Yeah, no, you turn on the tape now. He is. I would say he's quarterback too, no doubt about it. No doubt. Just to hear some of the guys say that, it makes me think, okay, who are you tied to as far as agent to get you to kind of basically
I need to look up Tyler Shook's agent because he may be the best agent in the NFL right now.
He's pushing him like he's a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to be the Bo Nix of that. I don't know if I saw that, but he did surprise me, and I thought, he's definitely a middle-round guy now in my eyes, based off of how he was going about his read. He's kind of was right there. The way I watched him was kind of like McCord to me, to a certain extent. So I kind of put them on the same level as quarterbacks and what they will be in the National Football League. But the Deion or Shadur stuff is just that's just the way it's going to be. I don't get caught up in he was kind of standoffish and man, guess what? He could have been. Maybe it was you who was standoffish because you didn't like his style.
Well, and we've heard stories, right, of quarterbacks, or really not just quarterbacks. We've heard stories of players, being in a team knows that they're not going to draft him, but they had the meeting scheduled anyway, or the team knows that he's not going to be there, and they wasted his time just as much as they wasted their time. Mm-hmm. So, there's some quarterback-needy teams, but is this quarterback-needy team maybe the Steelers at 21, and Shadur's like, well, I'm not going to be here at 21. Why am I in this interview? I'm not going to be here at 21. So maybe he's a little bit more disinterested. Yeah. I don't know.
And that's on him if that's the case.
But we don't know. But I could see a case where players are also a little more like, well, my stock's really high. I'm not as interested in this, or maybe I'm not as interested in this team regardless.
Well, and here would be my response if I'm this PR person or someone advising him. Yeah. I would say, but guess what? You get good practice on how to speak and continue to just keep moving. It's just like a job interview.
Exactly.
Even if you don't get the job, you're in your second and third interview, or you're going to another job, you're getting interview. Guess what? The more practice you get at it, the better you'll be at it. So he's got to make sure he doesn't do that too on both sides of this. So it's a nothing burger for me. I love when stuff like this happens, because from the outside, if I'm doing the interviewing, I'm like, my opinion only matters.
Right.
I don't care what they are saying. That is not true. I know. I'm sitting here watching them, and I interviewed them. Yeah. I don't get any of that.
Yeah,
so.
I think it is. I know that the NFL is a very gossipy kind of league.
Yes,
but I do think when it comes to the evaluation process, it is very insulated for the most part. Mm-hmm. In fact, you got to trust. You got to trust your eyes. You got to trust your staff, your assessment, your interviews, and all this kind of stuff. You don't need to worry about anybody else's interview. If you're hearing this about Shadur and your team that had a great Shadur Sanders interview, you're thinking, hell yeah, let's even get this out a little bit more, because I want Shadur to come to me.
I want to come up with a business. You're a lot smarter than me. Come up with a business idea. Anytime people in the media come up with, anonymous sources, they cannot report them.
Oh, I wish we could do that. I think that violates the First Amendment or something.
Everything that is said, because I want to know what Scout said this.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah, because Todd McShay specifically is saying a high-ranking official.
Right.
So,
that's more.
I know he interviewed a lot of GMs at the Combine for his podcast, and obviously none of them put it on air, and maybe he's getting this at the late-night bar trips or something like that. Sure. But again, that's a really bold statement to put out by everybody involved, but this happens every year, it feels like. And it's kind of like, the reason I bring this to light is not to bash Shadur, because I think that we both are kind of like, we see kind of through this kind of situation, and I want everybody to hear that just because you're hearing it doesn't make it true.
Right.
We have no clue if it's true or not. But at the end of the day, I look at it and I say, these people who are pushing Tyler Shook up their board, trying to force Jackson Dart in the first round,
right?
That to me is very agent-driven and not tape-driven. And if you're a tape-driven team in the NFL, you are taking Shadur Sanders in the first round. I think anybody who has a day 2 grade on them, I just question what you watched.
Yeah, that is insane if that happens. So I don't know. What is your take there, Jackson, on rumor mill of players, in the draft?
The rumor mill, Blaine, you were pressing the talkback button, so nobody heard.
Hey, I'm just telling you, just in case.
But the rumor mill, I just think it's all smoke and mirrors until we get. I think you can get concrete like 2 days before the draft.
Remember when Will Levis was the betting favorite to go number one
that
overall?
That was 2 days before the draft. He shot up the odds to be the number one overall pick.
There you go. That's all you really need to know.
Who made money?
Who made money? There we go. When we come back, we'll have Coach Mack. We'll talk to him about the combine and his takeaways, some offensive tackle questions as well from people in the chat. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045, where I think we got our issues resolved on the phones. So give us 1 second. We'll have Coach Mack here on the radio here shortly. But real quick, Daniel Jeremiah just tweeted out about, an hour ago, and I missed it. In regards to Sam Darnold, he says he's not getting anything close to 40 per year. And this is in reference to a Colts fan that replied to his tweet. Your GM and head coach need to win right now, talking about how they would pay for Sam Darnold. So Daniel Jeremiah is saying that he believes, from what he has heard, he's not getting anywhere close to $40 million per year. This show has been all over that. I don't know. This show's pretty smart.
Which means the Titans still could be in the running.
That's right. Because the original tweet said if Darnold gets to market, I'd be very curious to see if the Colts get involved. I think he's a clear upgrade for a team that needs to win right now. That's just his opinion. That's not, any kind of reporting, but there have been people saying that they're not as confident that Anthony Richardson will be the day one, week one starter. Not Sam Darnold aside, they don't think that Anthony Richardson may be
right. I saw Ballard. I think he said he's bringing in
competition.
That's what I saw.
Do you bring in that kind of level of competition? I don't know.
I didn't say that.
But I think they're bringing in competition. Let's go to Coach Mack. Brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. Here, did we lose him?
No, press the button.
Yeah,
there,
press the
Jackson.
button, Jackson.
We're going to tease me. And you do the same thing.
I feel like we lost him.
Them on the computer screen is not working here.
So, Mac, are you there?
I can hear you guys. You good?
Yeah, we're good. Okay, we got you there. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here, but we got you loud and clear.
I've got great confidence that Jackson can get it straightened out.
And that means really that you don't.
All right.
A coach say, Blaine, I have complete confidence that you will get it done. Meanwhile, I've messed it up multiple times. So then you really believe me, or are you just telling me that so I hopefully can get it done?
I've got complete confidence that it will come off just fine, guys.
All right, Coach Mack. We've been talking about these, I guess, category of rumors that come out from the combine and stuff like that about people bombing their interviews or people, not getting along with teams and all this stuff. Specifically, Shadur Sanders is the latest guy. You got Todd McShay, Daniel Jeremiah. I'm sure Dane Brugel. I'm sure they've heard this from reliable sources. But when these draft rumors happen like this, is this more smoke? Is there truth to it? Like, how, as fans, should people decipher all these rumors?
No, I mean, that's a very, very valid question. And look, all the years that I've spent there, I've developed a circle of people that I listen to, I talk to, and I trust. And the rest of it, at this time of year, I think you can go back to any time after the combines, all of them. I've been to all of them. And at this time of year, there's always this type of talk. What you've got to be able to do, and again, it comes a little bit with knowing, where it's coming from. Now, there's at certain points, there are things that you believe, and then there's other things that you've got to be able to separate the legitimate information from the information that comes from pollinators. You know what pollinators are? They're like bees. They're people that like to move to, like bee moves to flower, all the flowers at once, just back and forth, trying to hope that something sticks or that something works. Or you've got some people, depending on, and mostly it's guys that are brand new that are getting into it, giving information, trying to portray that they know a little bit more than they do. So what you've got to do is kind of parse through it. But at this point in time, it's hard to separate that unless you're really in the room or unless you're directly involved one-on-one with those people. So I understand. I mean, I've done it for years. I understand this time of year, it makes for interesting conversation and interesting talk and interesting discussion. But at the same time, being able to parse through the truth of it is something you've got to be able to do one-on-one with the principals involved. That's why I never hardly ever get involved in it. When I was early on there, I started to listen to it, and I learned really quick and was told really quick a lot of this stuff, and some of it is put out there as intentional propaganda. I mean, guys, this time of year, I've been on the phones for 30 years during drafts, all right, and knowing, how much goes back and forth with this kind of talk. And until you're dealing with people that make decisions, it's hard to believe any of it until you deal with those people in person.
Speaking of these two quarterbacks, obviously Cam Moore did enough, allegedly, to separate himself from Shadur Sanders as the quarterback one. It's the rumors coming out and the analysis coming out. When you watch the tape for both these quarterbacks, do you think that they're both worthy of being in the discussion for a first round, maybe even a top 10 draft pick?
Yes, I think they're both. They're 1 and 2. Whatever you decide, they are 1 and 2 as far as the quarterbacks in this draft. There's a distinct difference, in my opinion. And the other ones, those two didn't throw. Everybody else pretty much that's involved in quarterback conversations this year. I mean, this was probably one of the busiest weeks I spent at the Combine, because I was not only involved in what we did with all of our podcasts, for 3 days with Titans Radio, with all of those things. I was also involved in the accelerator program that was going on, over at the JW Marriott. So I was going back and forth. And then once the workouts start, all of that, takes up all of your time. But film evaluation, in just my humble opinion, looking at it, these are the top 2 quarterbacks over there. And then when you watch the other ones throw, you kind of had the same idea that you had on your evaluation with the ones that threw, the same thing. So your question was, are those the top 2? In my opinion, yes.
You're talking about matching tape, athleticism, all that kind of stuff. When someone like, and I don't mean to name names or anything, but like Shamar Stewart, who has this blows up.
Just named the name.
Yeah. But, he blows up the Combine, right? Now,
right.
He has a lot of pressures, but he doesn't have a lot of finishes, not a lot of tackle for losses, not a lot of sacks. When you see a player blow up the Combine like that, and then you go through your first phase of watching film, and you're like, this guy doesn't have the production. What's wrong with it? When you go back and watch the film, because obviously that makes you want to go back and watch the film, how do you kind of like justify or draw the line between athletic testing and college production?
Well, I think everybody had the idea that he was going to test very well, because, I mean, you can see that. I mean, you can see that. But the production is something, and you're right. The production does not match what the testing numbers didn't surprise anybody there, Zach, because I sit with, position coaches in the Lucas Oil during all of this stuff. That's I talked to these guys. That didn't surprise anybody. His numbers didn't surprise anybody, the way that he tested. But that is the dichotomy of him, is his production on tape at Texas A&M did not match up with all of those numbers. And now you start digging into why. And, you guys have been doing this for a while. Your listeners have been following the draft for a lot of years. I've been personally involved in it for, a long time. And that is what you've got to be able to decide as a decision maker. You've got these numbers, and you've got a really, really good athletically skilled, but now all of a sudden, can that be developed into production, or is that just a ceiling as far as what he's able to produce during live action in a ball game? That's what you have to separate. And you're right. That is one of the polarizing talents in this draft, because the talent is there. The production at Texas A&M does not match what those production numbers are in the drills and also in the testing.
We're on with Coach Mack of Titans Radio, brought to you by Tours Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Well, Coach, I don't know what your expectations were going into the Combine this year, but kind of take us through what the biggest storyline going into the Combine, and then what was the biggest storyline leaving the Combine?
Well, first of all, of course, by days. I mean, I could look at this thing by days and look at it. The guys that did not work out that did not work out in the defensive front, since we talked a little bit about Shamar Stewart, the guys that did not work out are some of the guys that were at the top of it. But then some of the guys that worked out, that are going to be further down, probably in the belly of the draft, were pretty interesting. And I found some guys there. I mean, Darius Alexander from Toledo. I mean, I knew a little bit about him. Haven't done a lot of drilled-in work on him, but he tested really well. So now I'm going to go back and watch that. I think he positioned himself as far as working out there. Got to see if the tape matches it, but that's a guy that got my interest. The other guy was Landon Jackson, the edge guy from Arkansas. At the Senior Bowl, I was kind of in and out on him because he's big, he's strong, but he didn't look mobile enough. Well, he lost weight. He went there, and all of a sudden he puts up some really good numbers. So that makes you go back and relook it again. I expected him to be a decent player, but he was better than I thought when he tested out. The other one is a behind the ball linebackers. I mean, Jihad Campbell is a little bit of what, like Zach was talking about, a guy that is just physically what you're looking at. But as far as when you look at technically playing off the ball, he's not real refined yet. And then so when you look at the athlete, but you watch him work and you watch his production, he just needs more time on task behind the ball. I was impressed with him. I liked what he did. And then I'll give you the name of one guy that I had nowhere near anywhere, and I'll admit it, not on my radar, is a linebacker. Now, look, he'll be a third-day guy, but he athletically, he moved, he did well. I'm going back to the tape on him at UCLA, a guy named Kane Medrano, that all of a sudden, ran electronically, he runs 4.46, looks really good in the drills. He'll be a third-day guy, but it's somebody that I didn't have. That's what I like, is guys that I really don't have a real good take on going into those, 4 days that I'm in Lucas Oil, that I come away with going, I got to go back and watch this dude.
Mm-hmm. We're on with Coach Mack, giving us the Mack Attack. A couple more questions here. One is, what does it mean? And I know you're not a doctor, but kind of take us through this process of the stress in the foot of Abdul Carter. Like, what does that actually mean when they said, I forgot how they phrased it. You probably know better than me, but like, what does that mean? I've never even heard of that. They did some, MRI, and then they showed some stress levels in his tendon of his foot. So what was that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Blaine. I mean, I dropped out of medical school after the first semester because it was too easy. I wanted something hard to do. I don't know. It was
stress reaction. That's what they said.
They said it wasn't a fracture. But here's the one thing it does point out, Blaine, that I'm glad you brought up. Once you get to the combine, the medical part of it is so valuable. There is nothing, even if it's a gray area, that you are going to be able to not discover at the combine. So that, to me, is the biggest thing that came out of it. As far as what it is, and I do know this, because of his relevance as far as he's going to be a high pick, anybody that is going to pick him, anybody that wants to, is going to have their people look at it, is going to have their specialists look at it. All of that is going to go as a result of what that MRI showed at the combine before anything else happened. We know that they had the shoulder issue that he played one-armed in the playoffs with, but that was just came up. But you're not just going to take that word for it there, Blaine. You will have your people look at it if he's a guy that you're zeroed in on it. I do know that.
Mm-hmm. Well, with Coach Mack giving us the Mack Attack.
Coach Mack, we got a couple questions from the YouTube chat here, and one of them is about Ricky W. asks, do you have 3 under-the-radar prospects that no one is talking about after the combine?
No, they're really not. Anybody that's a combine is not really under the radar, because it goes through a pretty extensive vetting process as far as to the people that are recommended by all the scouts in the country that go there. Yeah, I'll give you one though that was put on my list going in that I was really, really interested in watching work out. Is a running back that started out at North Carolina A&T, then transferred to Virginia Tech, a guy named Bashul Tutens. And Bashul Tootin, check his numbers,
Oh,
check what he did,
thick.
go back and look at him. This is going to be a guy that on the third day, somebody's going to add to the roster that is that has not been a very heralded player, but you start, and I checked his tape a little bit before I watched him at Lucas Oil. You watch his production at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't go back to watch North Carolina AT&T film, but you watch him and you watch his numbers. That's a guy that was not on my radar screen going in, was put on my radar screen, when I sat down with Dane Brugler or sat down with Charles Davis, and then I watched him. That's an interesting guy. But Bashul Tootin from Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Tootin is 206 pounds, ran a 4.32 with a 1.49 10-yard split. I guess you could say Tootin was scooting on that 40-yard dash.
Yeah, he runs hard, too. I've watched him a couple times. He's a really tough, hard runner.
See, and those numbers are available, and I did. And then to me, I'm glad you brought that up, because that to me is a guy that had probably a lot to show when he came to the combine and took it to his advantage. Now, how much will it move the needle on where he's taken? I don't know, but it got some people's attention when I was sitting with some running back coaches. I know that.
Yeah, what about Jalen Milroe compared to his time at the Senior Bowl to how he looked at the combine?
Well, Milroe didn't run, okay?
I'm talking about the throwing.
He didn't run. He threw, but he didn't run. What's really surprised me a little bit, Blaine, because he's fast. I mean, you can see that on tape. I mean, he's fast. He can move. It surprised me that he chose not to run there. It really did. He did. I mean, he threw. He did all the other drills, but he didn't run. So, again, we all know what Milroe, the pluses and the minuses on him. Superb athlete. Questions about the accuracy, the consistency of accuracy in his throws. There's no question about his arm strength. He showed that, but it really shocked me. It really did that he didn't run there, Blaine.
Yeah, I got a question, and to close this off, because I do want to talk about offensive tackle just for a little bit, but I want to talk about Will Campbell. And Will Campbell came in with a shorter wingspan than our guy that was a 5'10" at the Senior Bowl, Willie Lampkin. Came in at 77 inches. Like, why is that so important? Because, I mean, obviously, Pete, the tape shows that he played tackle. He played tackle very well. But in the NFL, why is that such an issue for players? And when you see that and you see the tape, are you of the mind that you start him out at tackle and then let him move into guard if he fails, or do you just start him right away at guard?
I'm exactly what you said with that. I would start him out at tackle. I think he's got enough. He's got tackle feet. He played at a very, very high level of football. But I'll tell you why, as far as the arm length is so incredible on the edge. It's why everybody pays attention to it. You move into guard, you've got population around you. The space that you have to protect is populated, okay? From guard to guard in that center guard triangle, like we always talk about, it's populated. When you're out there on the edge, it's like being a cornerback in the back end. There's no other population around you as to what's going on out there. So there are certain characteristics, and when you get threatened off the edge with the caliber of edge rushers that are making a lot of money now in the National Football League, and everybody's got one or two of them, it makes a difference as far as just the timing of being able to protect the edge, to be able to keep the cylinder protected from the outside end. Now, there are some players that, regardless of the arm length, they've got good enough athletic ability and good enough technique that they were able to get away with it. But in a general case, that's why they talk about arm length for the edge rather than arm length for the center guard triangle.
That makes sense. I appreciate it, Coach Mack, and we appreciate you. This was Coach Mack, going through everything he heard from the Combine, brought to you by Tours Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. So really appreciate your time, Mack.
Guys, always appreciate talking to you. It was a good week in Indy. I'm glad to be back in Nashville. I'll tell you that.
That sounds good. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Coach.
When we come back, we'll get you guys updated on where the Titans stand with some of their meetings from the formal Combine and what's coming up on 30 visits. And also, What the sources are telling us about Sam Darnold and why he didn't re-sign with the Vikings is covered too with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not? People are really tired of that stuff. So if you've had it with the unreliable vehicle repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. And Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable. And Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready so you don't have to stand around and be waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because the dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead. And that's a lot of money. So why would you want to pay for that? Well, at Eurofix, reliable also means 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead because loaner cars are very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that would be Eurofix. Family owned for 26 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But I always tell them Blaine said, Joe.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here. 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. Last call for phone calls, and we got the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live is where you can watch anything that you want to do with Zone TV. We're all there. Appreciate everybody in the chat. They've been fun today to talk to and mess with. I wanted to go through, and the Tennessee Titans, every NFL team gets 60 formal combine interviews. 60. And these typically last 15 minutes. I've been able to amass a list of at least 16 based on what people have reported. We got edge out of Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart. Edge out of Georgia, Mykel Williams. Edge, Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Offensive right tackle out of Texas, Cameron Williams. Left tackle out of Oregon, Josh Connerly Jr., who we were talking about off air. Mm-hmm. Got Charles Grant, left tackle from William and Mary College. He came in and talked to them. Ya boy, Quinn Ewers. Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward, obviously. Jadon Blue, running back from Texas, came in for a formal interview. Luther Burden, my second favorite wide receiver in this class, wide receiver out of Missouri. Wide receiver out of Texas, Matthew Golden. Wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka. Wide receiver out of Texas, Isaiah Bond. And, of course, wide receiver / cornerback Travis Hunter. So 6 of those. 4 of those have already been confirmed for 30 visits. I think everybody knows by this time who those 4 are, but just in case you don't, Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, and Travis Hunter will both be visiting these next few days. I believe Abdul Carter is Thursday. Then we got Shadur Sanders, then Cam Ward, then Travis Hunter in a couple of weeks. So those guys are going to be coming up next. But it's just important to kind of keep up with all the touch points is how they call them. So Mike Bergonzi, Chad Brinker have all called them touch points. That these touch points are important. You have formal combines, pro day meetings, private workouts, 30 visits, local visits that don't count against your top or your 30 allocated visits, and you got virtual meetings now. And so all this stuff is important, and we'll keep you guys updated when we get more information. But I just wanted everybody to have that information. What's interesting, I want to get your impression of this, is that Sam Phelan was on Ramon Kalen Will, Sam Phelan of A to Z and Survivor fame, was on Ramon Kalen Will earlier this week. And he said that the gap between Abdul Carter and Mykel Williams, according to the Titans, is much closer than the difference between Mykel Williams, Georgia edge rusher, and the third best guy. What are your thoughts when you hear that?
Ooh. Well, who is the third best guy?
That we don't know. I would think that Donovan Ezeraku, Mike Green, those guys probably did themselves some favors this week. You know, Donovan Ezeraku, the Boston College edge rusher.
Oh, I haven't watched any.
I would encourage you to go watch. I think you'll like what you see on tape. And I really like he's got the production, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism. He really, the big 3 check marks, he really gets all 3.
Well, I did go watch Stewart, by the way. And
what'd you? Oh, that would be good to know. What did you think of Shamar Stewart?
I was stunned that he doesn't have sack numbers.
Now, is that because of how he looks and how he performs? I mean, why do you think he doesn't have the sack numbers?
It was really hard for me to see. I felt like he had flexibility and mobility. The guy has a motor. He was relentless.
Yeah.
So I thought, he's probably going to be a little bit lacking in motivation or, maybe a little bit of a loafer. None of that. The total opposite. I just think maybe he is more so a D tackle. The guy was strong.
Really?
Yeah, do
you mean like more of a Danico Autry sense, like kind of like a guy that you can kind of throw out at outside linebacker, but you can put his hand in the dirt?
Well, I don't really believe Autry was an outside linebacker.
Right.
I know they did that.
That was the secondary kind of thing.
Tackle.
Yeah.
Guy who is multifaceted. I think he could do both. I still don't understand why he didn't get production because when you see him,
He looks the part, right?
No, he looks the part even on the field.
Right.
Like, as far as running around and beating guys, I was just stunned that he couldn't close deals. It was kind of it was kind of flukish, but it kept happening. So you can, well, dang, if he can't close the deal, what's the issue? So I really couldn't put my finger on it. But one thing I can tell you, you ain't gonna have a problem with him, hustling and being relentless. So it starts there. And so that's a part I value that really high.
Okay.
So I actually like that. Now, I do want production with a high first round grade.
So how does that? Well, that's why. Where do you grade him out in that scenario?
I'd probably put me in the second round.
Okay,
that's what would happen because I gotta see production, and he was just around the quarterback a lot. He just couldn't finish him.
So if he's there at 35, and the Titans, let's say, pass on Abdul Carter, they either get a quarterback or Travis Hunter, and Shamar Stewart's there at 35, is that still too high in your opinion? Because that's second round. But do you think that is? That's kind of where you got Harold Landry. Is there a scenario where worst case he's just Harold Landry, or do you think worst case he really is Vernon Golston?
I'd say worst case scenario he's going to be a Harold Landry.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's not bad for second round, right?
I think that's fine. And that's where Harold Landry went.
Right,
now,
exactly.
He was closing deals, but I think he's more athletic. Even he's a bigger guy. Yeah, I think that may hurt him where he drops because of the production. But man, when you turn on the tape, man, this guy's a player.
He's got it. Yeah. All right, that will do it for us. 3HL's up next. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone Explosive Show. Jackson behind the glass. Jackson, how do you grade the show?
A+.
Oh, good. A+. I think that's just because Blaine's here and you're scared of Blaine. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons on 105 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.